So I'm studying neuroscience and finance right now in college. And I normally try not to introduce myself with two majors because you just sound stupid. And for me especially, it starts a conversation of, oh, that's like a weird combo of majors. Why are you doing that? And then I've had that conversation a million times and I just stick to one. And I've noticed that the reaction to when I say I'm just a finance major or when I say I'm just a neuroscience major is totally different. When I say I'm a finance guy, they say, oh, that's nice, man. That's so cool. Like, good luck with that, man. And then when I say neuroscience, their eyes dilate. They lean in. They say, wow, Will, you must be pretty smart, huh? And, honestly, like, the classes are different. Yeah, the classes are very different. And I will say, like, neuroscience is more challenging. But, like, what are we talking about, man? Come on. All right, that's almost, like, messed up, So anyways, I found out why. Little crash course intro, if you're familiar. Cut that. Two dudes from the West Coast, David and Alan. In 2007, they noticed how weird the public perception is to fMRI studies. If you don't know what an fMRI is, it's a brain scan that researchers use while people are doing certain tasks, like reading a book or watching a movie and looking at disturbing images just to see like what part of the brain is being activated. And that's when you get those images of the brain with like certain dots showing, oh, this part of the brain works when you're doing this, And it's awesome. I think it's really cool. But David and Alan were like, why are these guys getting so much love and admiration when they're using, they're doing cool work, but we are too. And David and Alan were like, you know what? Let's put this theory to the test. So they gathered a bunch of participants and had them read two different research articles. One of the research articles had just bar graphs and topographical maps, things that actually show data. For the other participants, they read the same research article, but with only brain images and certain parts of the, fMRI scan. And David and Alan asked the participants to rate the validity or soundness or accuracy of these studies. And guess what? The articles with the brain images rated better. Way better. Every time. So data actually being put on the page is worse than just a picture of the brain. What? Why? When you think a little bit deeper, the brain is the most important organ, according to the brain. And this bias may be the reason that you clicked on this video. That's why I put the brain right there. You probably thought I was so smart because this brain is here. Like, you think I'm smart. Now let me tell you how seductive I am. The seductive allure of neuroscience explanations is another research article by Dina and co. Now Dina, very interesting researcher, and she thought this topic was cool by David and Alan. So she wrote the seductive allure of neuroscience explanations. They had three groups of people who know nothing about the brain: neuroscience students and brain experts, neuroscience leading researchers. They had them read an explanation of something. It was like, oh, here's an explanation about what alien hand syndrome is. And there was a good explanation and a bad explanation for each group. Now, where Dina and co came in, they had a little neuro additive. They put in some neuroscience jargon, just threw some absolutely useless information. It adds nothing to the explanation. It's just talking about brain scans, activation in certain areas of the brain, stuff like that. Now let me read you a little example. So here's without neuroscience. The researchers claim that this curse happens because subjects have trouble switching their point of view to consider what someone else might know, mistakenly projecting their own knowledge onto others. Now here's with neuroscience. Brain scans indicate that this curse happens because of the frontal lobe brain circuitry known to be involved in self-knowledge. Subjects have trouble switching their point of view to consider what someone else might know, mistakenly projecting their own knowledge onto others. All right, and then there's also the bad explanation. I'm not going to read that to you. But if you don't know what the explanation's talking about, it's called the curse of knowledge. It's pretty much when you're talking to somebody who's super smart and they can't comprehend that you have no idea what they're talking about. So they just like say, oh yeah, you know about electroencephalopathy. And you're like, oh, no, but carry on. And then they keep on like saying things that you just are not even on the same like level of comprehension at all. But you don't want to stop them and say, like, stop, because then they're going to think you're stupid and it becomes this whole ordeal. That's a curse of knowledge. And that's actually one of the reasons I started this channel, because there's such a barrier to entry in science fields, and I want to be the dumb guy explaining smart people stuff because I think it's fun. So if you support that journey, drop a subscribe and come learn with me, baby. Let's go. Let's get learny. Let's get learny. Anywho, Dina and co. ran the study, got their results back, and found that for novices, the random neuroscience jargon actually increases the comprehension. Random neuroscience information, it doesn't help the explanation at all. It slightly raises a good explanation to an even better explanation. And it makes a bad explanation to have a negative score to having positive. What? Just because it says the brains can't indicate... What are we talking about? What are we talking about, man? But then for neuroscience students, all right, they know the brain. They've got this covered. No, they're even worse. They're even worse. Look at the difference in satisfaction levels. Good explanation, good, and the bad explanation. And they know the brain too, and they know it doesn't add anything. It doesn't make any sense. But then for the neuro experts, this trick doesn't work too well for good explanations. It actually makes good explanations turn to bad explanations because they're like, that's useless information. But for bad explanations, it makes it better. Why? Why do people love the brain and just trust the brain so blindly? You can use this to your advantage. First off, don't be fooled by people saying neuroscience stuff and thinking that they're so smart. Like, they're just normal people, man. All right? It's the brain. The brain is awesome. Learn about the brain. I want to learn more about the brain. But don't be fooled by people saying, oh, our product will have you increase your brain activation in the frontal lobe, which is your decision-making area of the brain, by 25%. Use this. And then they even put neuro in the title of their company. No, don't fall for that. But if you are a business person and you want to create a company and sell that company, use that. Use that and say, yeah. Do research on your product so that you're not completely lying, but say, yeah. Our product increases the activation of your frontal lobe, which is the decision-making part of your brain. Yeah, say that, dude. People are going to instantly trust that and be like, oh, I need to take creatine now. This is awesome. I had a great time learning with you today. If you did too, drop a like and I'll see you next time. If you're wondering why I use the 3.2, it's called odd-even pricing, and it's a business technique. If you click the video to get 3.2 times smarter, you just got fooled not by neuroscience, but by business. Typically, even numbers for prices, like $1,500, represents a luxury item, and when they use 0.99 or 0.97, that's like, oh, this number was calculated, and that means, oh, they're probably perfectly priced so that they're just using enough to break even. I'm getting the best bang for my buck. So if you click this video to get 3.2 times smarter, you just got financed. Eat that, neuroscience majors.